Hey everyone, and welcome back to Narratives in Black, the show where we deep dive with Black leaders, artists, and change makers shaping communities in Boston and beyond. I'm your host, Amanda Shea, and today's guest is a powerhouse of poetry, performance, and purpose. Letta Neely is an award-winning poet, playwright, actor, and activist whose work spans decades and disciplines. From the pages of her poetry collection, Juba and Here, to the powerful performances in plays like Harmatia Blues and her one-woman show, Pulling It All into the Current, Letta has consistently used her voice to explore identity, sexuality, justice, and Black queer experience. She's the executive director of Apprentice Learning, a story weaver in residence at Emerson College's Elma Lewis Center, and a beloved community builder through spaces like Firewater Poetics. Join me in welcoming the powerhouse, Letta Neely. Hi.
Hey.
Hey.
What's up?
How you doing?
I'm good.
I'm always in awe of being able to interview people that I not only look up to, but I'm mentored by, low-key, high-key. So I'm super happy that you're here.
Thank you.
How are you feeling today? This green looks good.
Thank you. I'm feeling very good today. It's been a tiring, how many days has this fool been in office?
4 months?
Okay, so it's been a tiring 4 months, but we're real clear about the work that we need to do. So I'm here.
Really 6 months, because we're in June already. The inauguration was on.
Yeah, correct.
It was in January. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday at that.
Time is a construct, and these 6 months feel like 6 years.
It really does. Speaking of the political climate, I know we're jumping right on in. How are you feeling, especially being the executive director of Apprentice Learning, where you are constantly around young people all the time? Mm-hmm. How's the energy with you, but also what do you see around you as far as the youth?
Prior to the orange monster. And I don't even want to say the orange monster because I like the color orange.
I do too. It's
to the toxic monster. Our young people were already in a mental health crisis, right? Due to a number of things that are happening, obviously, in the world. And now it's even more so, right? And the reflection of health is harder to see because whole families are under turmoil and duress. All of us are under turmoil and duress, and so what we're seeing in the schools is a lot of lateral violence in the sense of young people othering each other, othering their teachers based off of accent and skin tone and perceived nationality and ethnicity. What I'm also seeing is this fake bravado, right, in the sense of we got to keep it together. Also what's happening is this is a time in which silence is both a weapon, right, and a shield. And for young people, when we have been telling them for years, because we've done so much work for freedom, right, and to liberate, help them liberate and just be, to have them go back into a closet of whatever kind of making, right, around race, sexuality, ethnicity, just free thinking, just dreaming is really, really dangerous, and we have to be really careful as adults about how we nurture that space. So it has been a difficult time because for me personally, but also for our organization, can we be authentic?
Yeah.
Can we be real? Can we tell the truth, right, at all times? Can we still offer the seeds of possibility, right? Can we still say the future is yours, right? And believe it,
that
right? Part. And can we make a way so that that's true?
Right.
So that's what's happening.
Yeah, the rolling back, I think you summed it up really, really beautifully, because that's exactly what I see in the schools. I think there's a lot of hostility and tension in the air. Watching our ancestors fight so hard and watching them roll back everything that they've done and everything that they went through, whether it's from affirmative action to DEI to Roe versus Wade and reproductive rights. A lot of my kids, especially of the LGBTQIA community, are concerned, especially when it comes to their healthcare and their access to medication.
And here's what I want to offer, right? It is absolutely true that we are in a treacherous, dangerous, disgusting war, right? And that we, first of all, I want to say we were always meant to survive and thrive, and there are those that never meant for us to know that.
Right.
Right. And having said that, fortunately, a lot of our younger people don't know this way of life that we had to live under, right? A lot of them don't know about when we had to like go through the back alleys to get to the restaurants, to get to the bars, right? Or have abortions in other people's houses, et cetera. They don't know that because we made a world, right, that is different. But we have been here, although not exactly here, before, and we have survived. There will be, if we're being honest, and we should be, there will be bloodshed, there will be death, there already has been, right? There will be people that lay their lives on the line, there will be violence, there will be those that are in nonviolent uproar as well, right? All kinds of people trying to figure out different ways to address this problem or these problems, right?
Right.
And we have been here before, right? So the game is not lost. The war is not over. I hate war, and yet we're in one. We have some ways like that are both ancestral and of those that are still living that are just a little bit older, right? And we know some things to do. Like one of the things to do is to know your neighbor,
Right.
right? To begin to trade sugar, you got some sugar, you got some salt, again, right?
Right.
All of those things, like to touch base and to understand that there are places in which we are directly related. Like, not everybody is gonna be gay, not everybody's gonna be black, not everybody's gonna be a dreamer, you know what I mean? All of those things, but there are places in which we link up that are all about liberation and freedom, and we better connect on those because they're coming for all of us.
That was a poignant way of saying that because it's so true. Like we preach community a lot, especially in Boston. Like community, community, community. No, you need to know who your folks are, and it shouldn't matter, race, ethnic background, religious beliefs, sexual orientation, none of those things. And I'm glad that you named the borrowing the sugar and like knowing your neighbors because you are derived from the South. That's originally where you're from. You've spoken of your Indianapolis roots before. What aspects of your childhood still echo through your poetry and your plays today? And your activism?
All of it.
All of it.
I mean, so technically, yes, my family is from the South, right? We're from Selma. We're from
Alabama.
I got all of that, right? And I grew up in Indianapolis, which is, I like to say, the buckle, the buckle of the Bible Belt, right? And what is beautiful about that is that we say hello to everybody, right? And we are the people that say, how you doing, how your mom and them doing, how your cousins, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we mean it. What is hard about that is that it being in the Bible Belt, there's so many interpretations that exclude us, right? Or excluded me, right? Any facet of me. Being a woman, being black, being a dyke, being someone who is flexing my imaginative muscle on a daily basis. All of those things can excommunicate you from various communities in Indianapolis or in Indiana or in the Midwest or any deeply toxically biblical place, right? So some good and some bad stuff, right? But what I carry with me is that genuineness, the ability, like in a play, to have so many on-ramps or off-ramps to meet and to collaborate within the text, right? In my life also, right? Like there are not many people that I meet that I don't want to know, for real. Like in the Midwest, what seems like small talk is never small talk. Like when we say how you doing, we actually care.
You really want to know, like,
Yeah.
no, how are you
Yeah.
really doing?
Right. So in my plays and in my poetry, and in my life, right, I'm exploring and looking to understand how we're doing, right? What we're doing, why we're doing, what manifests from what we're doing.
Growing up there, were there moments or mentors that sparked your awareness of injustice or inspired your creative voice?
Yeah. So Mari Evans lived down the street. That's the first thing, right? So you knew that there was a poet down the street. My parents built a library in our kitchen, and well, they changed the kitchen to be a library, and they put shelves in it. And the rule is, if you could reach the book, you could read the book. So there was that. That's inspiring. And also, we had such a motley crew, a motley selection of books. Like, it wasn't like they were like, we're only going to collect books on, I don't know, veganism or black cookbooks or whatever. It was anything you could get for $1 at the corners, you know, at the yard sale, or 50 cents or whatever. So like, there was all kinds of books that are inspiration. So Walt Whitman and James Baldwin and Maya Angelou and you know, Thurber, and like all of these people, right? Ayn Rand, The Fountainhead. You know what I mean? Like, you could be reading anything.
It's beautiful.
Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, everything. Things I saw on Mulberry Street. Like, but the whole gamut, right? At any given time, I had some incredible neighbors. My touchstone is this woman, Shauna Murphy. When I was in high school, she was a senior, and she said, she was a big old, like, you know, bulldagger. She might say lesbian, but, you know, bulldagger, you know what I mean? And somebody that I was like, I just looked up to, right? She was on the basketball team, and she was a person that just walked like who she was. And I always wanted to be able to make sure that I could do that, right? Like, just be. And I was struggling at that time because everybody in my high school, I told you, very Christian, right, was like, come to Bible study with me? You want to go to Bible study? You want to go to Bible study? And when you get to Bible study, they're like, you're going to go to hell.
Yeah.
You know? And she came to me right before she graduated, and she said, I just want to tell you, just always be you. Don't ever let them take away your ability to just be you. And that has saved my life time and time and time again, when I could have, like, crunched myself into fitting somebody's box or different, whatever shape it was, right? I mean, because sometimes it's a hexagon and you're trying to fit into, but it's not yours.
Listen.
You know? And even when I have done that, those words gave me the key to get myself out, you know, however long it took, right? So there was her. There were also just, you know, there was Ron, who was in the neighborhood, he had a scarf that was very flamboyant, you know what I mean? And he didn't give a fuck. He just walked down the street as himself.
I love that.
Yes, you know. And people had things to say, but they didn't say it to Ron's face.
Of course they didn't.
You know. There is Boo, who was named Boo because he was darker than midnight, who was the neighborhood alcoholic, who also was the neighborhood watcher outer of everybody, right? So if something's going down, Boo knew it, and I am not quite sure if Boo didn't have his alcohol, if he would have been able to do all those things. So everybody had a place, you know, in the neighborhood. You also asking, I mean, all kinds of things about witnessing, right? About who were the placeholders. There was a cherry tree in my backyard that was a placeholder, you know, climbed it almost every day. You know, I think, I don't know, just the empty lot across the block where we, you know, across the street where we played stickball, you know, and everybody being able to be a part of, whether you were fighting with them the day before, you were hugging up on them the next day. The other piece of my neighborhood that, I don't even know if you asked me all this kind of question, but that was
I need all the answers.
critically important to me in knowing that we can and are everything, right, is that there was, in my next door, there was a porch, and you would take mattresses from an abandoned house, right, or a house that somebody had moved out of, and you would stack them up in the front yard, right? And then we were gymnastics, like heroes and sheroes off the front porch, right? Like flipping, like we were Simone and all of them before
Dominique,
you know what I mean? Like before they were on the Wheaties boxes, like we were all of them and like doing all kinds of things, right? Defying movement in spaces where Black people were supposed to be constricted. You know what I mean? Like who knew that you didn't need a gym to be able to do these things? We did, right? Who knew that you didn't need to have a track to be Carl Lewis or like FloJo, right? Like we were having big races around our block, right? Relay races with like toilet paper rolls and stuff. You know what I mean? Like in my neighborhood, they are the whole true like guide, right? Like I am fortunate enough to like have a job now, right? But I'm also fortunate enough to know that if we wanted to play basketball, like court to court or whatever, that we could build our own basketball hoop, right? And you build it with somebody's straight 2x4, a bike rim, some bent nails that you like fix with a brick, and all you really needed was a basketball. And if that wasn't like up to par, you just pump it up with a bike pump and put a patch on it. Do you know what I mean? Like I knew about racquetball before. I think it's racquetball. You hit the thing up against a wall.
Yeah.
Like you take tennis balls and play against the garage. You know what I mean? Like so, I've never been a person that was going to be held back by money or lack thereof, and that's been the game changer for me. Like,
you just like unlocked a whole bunch of core memories for me while you were speaking, because I'm like, I don't think any kid nowadays does any of those things that we used to do when we were kids, the gymnastics especially. I was a gymnast really, really young, but my fence was my balance beam. My yard was the floor, you know, like that we would do all the tumbling and things. So it's really interesting how back then, I don't think we saw it as a have-not or we lacked. We just improvised.
right, and what we didn't know is that we were being trained in guerrilla warfare, right? Like the need to be able to balance amongst all the bullshit, right? Or to flip and tumble amongst all of the toxicity, right? Begins there for me.
That's so... Even like games like when you said stickball, it reminded me of Manhunt. And we used to be it would be a whole neighborhood of kids. And it didn't matter if, like you said, you were banging it out down the street with this person. Next thing you know, you tagging this person in the game. It almost showed you what life is truly like through games. And isn't life can be viewed as a game as well. We have our challenges, we have our competitions, we have our arguments and our fights, but at the end of the day, we're all in it
right
to fulfill a purpose, because we all have a role to play. Like you
right.
said about Boo and everyone else in the neighborhood, everyone knew their position. This is why I love talking to you. I was like, core memories are just coming. Manhunt, I haven't even thought about that in so long.
I know, and I feel like one of the things that we were struggling for, we got, right? This idea of abundance, right? Like so there's all these programs that have happened. Like so but in that like so say there's lots of gymnastics programs now, right? Or at least or some.
There's
right? Some, not enough, but one of the things that happened is that we lost the ability to imagine how to do it. Right? So the place where we're stuck now, I think, in this particular place with the toxic doo-doo man, is that we feel as if we don't have, if these things are being taken away, and we won't be able to do them, right?
Instead of reimagining what that could look like,
right? Or just
with the barriers,
right? Like so, we have been living and doing DEI, right? Diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging from the jump before these words were ever in our common lexicon. right?
That's so true.
Before they decided to fund it, right? We were living it.
Yes.
And not only were we doing that, we were sometimes saying, we don't want your diversity
Yes.
because we need our belonging, right?
Yes.
And our belonging looks more powerful here. And we can parlay and we can chill with some of y'all, but not all of y'all and not all the time. And in fact, what happened, I think, is that it became like a really cool thing to be a part of their thing, right? Like, so.
But social acceptance, right? Because I feel like that was the other thing. We've been fighting for so long to be seen. So then we wanted to be socially accepted by those same institutions.
Yeah,
that
and
are
we
now
forgot that
keeping
we
us-
were seen and that we've been sawn or whatever the word, you know what I mean? Like,
we've been
like,
sawn, seen,
it's gonna be a new word.
sued,
Like,
whatever.
right. I saw you the other day. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I
But like,
sawed
we had
you.
our own concerts. We had our own grocery stores. We had our own funeral parlors. We had our own insurance companies. We had our
Banks,
own
all of the
schools,
things.
banks, et cetera, right? And in this seeking to be a part of, to be acceptable or to be seen, right, or recognized, we forgot to recognize ourselves in our own spaces on a regular basis with great gusto, right,
Yes.
and pride.
Yes.
Like, and so,
Wasn't that the birth of like why Black Wall Street was even a thing though? Was
yeah,
the
out of
fact-
necessity.
out of necessity.
And love of us, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, so when you take away, when I want to get on your street, what happens to my street,
Right.
right? And how come I can't be on both streets
You could
if I want to be?
if
right?
you wanted to be.
And the reason is because people kept bombing and redlining and this, that, and the third,
And
you know,
gentrifying.
and gentrifying and making us seem as if yours was better than ours.
when there was nothing wrong with ours
Not
to
a
begin
damn
with.
thing.
You've made a home here and a name in Boston's creative and activist spaces after growing up in the Midwest. What called you here? And how did that shape and shift your sense of identity?
What originally called me to Boston was really New York.
Everyone says that. It is so by way of New York.
Well, I mean, because I'm from Indiana, I had this vision. I knew the Harlem Renaissance was not still happening, right? But I knew that Harlem was where I needed to be. And I knew that I needed to touch ground there. And I wanted to get to New York. But I felt like I should be smart and that New York might be too fast for my little slow Indiana behind. And I should start, you know, here. And so there was a newspaper, I can never remember what it was called. And it was a women's newspaper, a lesbian newspaper that was being published. And I thought I could write for them. And so I got on a Greyhound and I had a backpack full of cassettes and I had a boombox and I had books. I had that many clothes. I don't know what I was thinking, you know what I mean? And I got on the Greyhound and I came to Boston and I was supposed to stay with a friend. And when I got off the Greyhound, he said, "Girl, I think you might be too gay for my family, and my family's coming to visit right now, and so you cannot stay with me." And I was like, I'm a dyke, but you're a fag. And you're
I was just going to say, I'm like, with all them euphemisms you just did,
yes.
Excuse me, sir.
I was like, how do you mean your parents aren't going to know who you are? Like, based off of stereotypes, just stereotypes, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and I can't stay, okay, so, but he was also, he was a white guy. He came from some money. Like I said, I got on the Greyhound. I had maybe $30, you know.
Wow.
And I probably spent that in the stops up along the way. So, and I'm not, you know, I'm a Leo. So he was like, you can't stay with me. I was like, all right, cool. You know what I mean? Like, I got this. Don't got shit. You know what I mean? Like, and I stayed at the Berkeley Street Y for the first few nights, right? And you didn't have to pay right away, I don't think. Or if I did, maybe I gave them the last, whatever it was, you know. And I stayed there until they locked me out with a padlock on the door. And then I was homeless for a little bit.
Wow.
And that's how I got to Boston. I was also interviewing, it was lesbian commune days. And so I was already up to interview for some spaces, some place to live, right? But, you know, lesbians being, this is a lesbian stereotype, but lesbians being lesbians, I had to interview 3 or 4 times. after I'd already interviewed on the phone. So in that time, you know, that's why I stayed at the Berkeley Street Y. That's why I ended up homeless in the meantime. I eventually ended up staying there and moving quickly after, but
wow.
that's how I got here. What was the rest of the question? I'm sorry.
No, don't apologize. How did that shape or shift
yes.
like your identity? I never even knew you were homeless when you first got here.
Yeah, me and the Commons have a relationship.
And a lot of people do with Boston Commons. That's a story of in itself. I feel like more people should like tap into it, maybe do some documentary research, because a lot of people, I've heard a lot of young people my age, and even some of my elders name that they've slept on the benches of Boston Commons. Crazy.
I slept in the Commons. I also met a couple of people that I had no idea who they were, you know, obviously, who had come stay on our couch, and sometimes that was great, and sometimes I was like, let me get out of here,
Up out of here,
right now. What I learned at that time was that you could walk in any hotel and act as if, right, because they all had conferences, and they all had breakfast, you know, banquets and lunch banquets, right? So I ate, you know, and I would walk in like I was somebody, because I am somebody.
Absolutely.
And I grew up being somebody, you know what I mean? The thing that I'm not proud of, but I will say that happened, is that I used to go to Logan Airport and I would take somebody's suitcase so that I would have clothes, right, to wear into the hotels or whatever. Sometimes the clothes fit, sometimes they didn't. It was, you know, but at that time they didn't have as much security, right? So here's what I learned and how it changed me. I learned about survival. I learned about transforming to, which I now call just being multilingual, right? To fit a part. I learned that I belong everywhere and should be able to go wherever I want to go.
Period.
And I learned, my father taught me this, and my mother too, but it carried me through all of that time and even to now, right? Like you treat everybody well, right? You say hello to everyone. You never know, not because you never know, right?
Right. It's just respectability.
It's respect, it's kind, right? And
is.
It's human. And at the time, like this, again, growing up in the Midwest, I look at it like this. So another thing you might not know about me is I taught Bible study for a little while.
We ain't gonna talk about it because I was gonna ask you in what background, but I'm assuming Christian.
Yes.
Okay.
I was on the church softball team with all the other bull daggers.
Okay.
But in the Bible, it talks about, like, we don't know when Jesus is coming back.
It's so true.
And that Jesus could come back any day or time. So
in any form,
in any
too.
form, right? So at the time, I looked at it like this, right? Jesus could be here every day of the week. You could be, I could be, anybody that we meet could be, right? And if I thought that I wanted to go to heaven, right? And my vision of this has changed over the time, right?
Right.
But why, if I might meet Jesus, who could be anybody, would I treat anybody like an asshole?
That's real.
You know what I mean? Like, now that has since some of the same, right? That everybody we meet is part of our crossroads, right? It's part of our divinity. Like, I see the God in you, you see the God in me. Why would I treat you wrong?
Right.
Right? Why wouldn't I hold and nurture you as I would want to be held and nurtured? Just with a simple hello, right? Furthermore, we can make heaven or hell right here.
Listen.
In any given moment.
Listen.
So that's where, and I want, that has marked me for life and a part of who I am, because I want all of our kids to know that I see God in them, you know, and that they can see God in themselves, right? And if we all got God particles, ain't we bad and ain't we black, you know what I mean? And ain't we divine, you know?
We all magical beings.
Aren't we, you know, so.
See, I have that part down. It's really just, I'm having trouble with turning the other cheek when somebody has wronged me. Like, I am working on that part.
Yeah. Well, and I guess it depends on the wronged, right?
Right.
Because some of the wronged has nothing to do with me.
Absolutely.
right? And that's their own thing to do. They haven't recognized
The God in
the
them.
God in them.
We'll just
right?
say they haven't
right.
recognized the God in
right?
them.
Or the gods or the goddesses,
Right,
right?
right.
You know, the ancestral breathing, like the beauty, right?
Right.
And I think it's Baldwin who says something like, you know, you are as free to be as whoever you are as long as it doesn't impinge on my freedom, right?
Absolutely.
And so I'm about that life, and I do not prefer violence.
Right. 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 Okay, moving on. With that being said, your work. Because I literally was going to say something, but I'm like, we're going to keep it cute.
But my head is shung up.
You know what I'm saying? Because I could fight. You know, how did the cultural and political landscapes of Indiana and Boston differ for you? Because like we hear this all the time about the North, the South, even the Midwest. Like a lot of people don't realize like our history and how Black folk have migrated up here to the North. And we're not, it was very much like not all skin folk is kin folk type of vibes. How did that affect you as a person, but especially as a Black lesbian artist? Did one offer like a louder canvas for expression than the other?
I don't know about a louder canvas, but a different canvas, right? So in Indiana, I'll give two examples, or two things that happened. In high school, it was the start of the AIDS crisis, right? Or at least as I knew it, right? So Ryan White is from Indianapolis, or from Indiana, right? And I was at a almost all-white school. We got bused, so our neighbor got picked up and dropped off into a township school. A lot of great things came out of that. A lot of horrible things came out of that. People burned effigies of Black people on our arrival. They talked about us being like African booty scratchers. You know what I mean? Like when the AIDS crisis was starting, like it was Black people. You know, like things were said in the hallways, right? About Blackness, about queerness. I never fit the gender norm, right? So before I mean, I always knew it when I was a dyke. I was a dyke at age 9, you know what I mean? Like, or at least a lover of girls. But I did not know all the words and all the ways attached, right? And so people decided I was a lesbian because of my gender, because of how I walked in the world, because I got a pimp rather than a switch. You know what I mean?
Oh, we know that.
You know what I mean?
Still
Like,
do.
like all of those things, right? And they were, you know, so that became like, you know, feminism was more what I was leaning into, right? Without even knowing, like, can I just be me, right? Do I have to wear a skirt to graduation? Do I have to wear like no makeup? You know what I mean? Like, and it seemed like so much of those things that were really about like how I walk in the world got called about sexuality, right? And so here in Boston, so because I was in JP after I was homeless, right? So much of it was more about race than about gender or about sexuality.
Yeah.
And white lesbians, as astute as they were and as caring and as comradey or as allied as they were also still white lesbians growing up, existing in this time and that you know, in that time and that place, filled with the racism and the vitriol that they may not have even known that they carried. Like it's like, what is it? Recessive traits, right? That would come out. And so, as an artist, the things that I wrote about would be more to the forefront, given you know those things. But what I learned early on is in both places. Maybe it was just on the bus, you know, on the Greyhound. I don't know, right? And I've said this a couple times before, but in this particular world, from the time I was born until now, right? You can be shot at just in general,
Yes.
right? the misogyny and feminicide is so deep that we can be killed for being female.
Absolutely.
Right? Aside from being killed for being female, people don't respect and or love or uplift the fact that we are women. So you can be killed for being a woman. We already know that we are on the hit list because of our race, because we're black, right? And add like not adhering to a gender construct, and add loving women and being a clit rocker, right? Like, so I'm on the hit list, right? And add like, you know, my distaste and disgust for right-wing politics, right? Like the political work that I've done. So if I can be unalived, as we say now, right, or assassinated, right, and I don't want to make it like smaller and be like murdered or killed, but assassinated for just being the being that I am, then I should just fucking be me.
Absolutely. It's funny that you name that, the word unalived. I was just having a conversation with this artist not too long ago. Everything you're saying is absolutely correct. I also believe that we are desensitizing ourselves when we change the narrative or change the word of what something actually is. No, I'm not unalived. I was murdered. You know, these are things that we need to name because it is important to not only name, but it is the truth. So when we come up with these terms, and even when you were saying as far as like now we have like this whole dictionary of, you know, LGBTQIA language that we can put to it. And some of it is very necessary. And I think some of it is absolutely not necessary. I feel like it creates more division within the vocabulary that we're using than it does for a united front.
I agree and I don't. I agree because when we use it for divisive purposes, like that's exactly what happens. And I love so much of it because that's how language is created, right? People getting to name themselves, right?
Because you keep using the word dyke, and I'm like, that's a word that like we don't use in today's vocabulary at all.
Right.
There was another word that you used before too.
Bulldagger?
Yes, bulldagger. And I'm like, these are like, I'm familiar with these terms because I've grown up around these terms. But as far as like even just 2025,
right. Well, when people get and the problem
you say
for me,
dyke, they feel offended.
right,
Yeah.
and so that I have a problem with, right? But the intersex, I don't have a problem with, right?
Yeah.
Someone deciding that, you know, like, and when the words first emerged as part of the common lexicon about transgender, right? Some people decided that if you didn't know that you were trans at the age of embryo, right, then you could not name yourself as trans. Right? Well, that's bullshit, right?
It is.
The language wasn't the problem, it was our constrictions around the language, right? So like, I am perfectly happy to be called a dyke all day long, right? As long, and if you want to be a lesbian, you go right ahead. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't necessarily choose a one-on-one. I could be a part of a lesbian circle. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, that's cool, right? But do not, if you ask me to define myself, I'm a dyke, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and so I think it's that part, like, and there's so many of those words. There's this new sexuality, ambrosexual, right? I think it's fantastic as long as somebody, because somebody's been looking.
That's true.
For this word to describe themselves. Now, if we start to exclude each other, and we will, because that's sometimes what we do, right?
We do.
Then that's going to be a problem.
Right.
Right. I think that
even butch queen, some people don't even like that. They're
like all of it. Like, these are words that we were sometimes maligned with and then embraced, right? And sometimes embraced and then were maligned with or whatever. But it's all language. And again, like, I mean, you can call. How about this? If you call me a dyke and it's respectful, I'm gonna give you that. You know, we're gonna dap it up. But if you call me a dyke and it's disrespectful, then we got a whole problem.
Period.
And I can tell the difference.
Funny how language works like that in twofold, right? It can either be a praise or an offense. And as somebody who's been an avid reader all of your life, because if you can reach it, you can read it, I love that philosophy. Like, I wish that we could actually implement that into schools. That's crazy cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
It was pretty nifty.
To have a library in your kitchen or have your kitchen turned into a library, I can only imagine your love of language. And I'm pretty sure that it spans across all different types of language. Is that how your work, be it in Juba, here, never separates the personal from the political? And when did you realize that your art could be activism and activism could be art?
I never knew that it couldn't be.
Really?
Really. Because
Where did you first learn that it couldn't be?
when people started separating it in schools, right? When we can learn about history, and we're gonna learn about literature, and we're gonna learn about, you know what I mean? Like, which I think is great to have the different classes and everything, but when they became these separate things that were not porous entry points to each other, right? When Shakespeare is only Shakespeare, right? And Mari Evans is literature and not speaking to the people, you know what I mean? Like, that type of stuff, right? I knew that that language, that alphabet, the alphabet, right, is political because as enslaved people, we could die for learning it. So from the jump, right,
And writing it.
and writing it, right, and being able to read and being found out for being able to read,
Yeah.
right? So when I learned that, and this is why we have no excuse for not being as great as we can be, right? When I found out that some people took great risk to both learn and or teach, right? People of white ethnicities, of black ethnicities, of indigenous to the Turtle Island ethnicities took great risk to learn or be taught or to teach the alphabet with a rock in the dirt, right? A rock in the dirt to spell your own name. Like shit, it's always been political.
Yeah. Yeah.